How's it going, YouTube? So this is the follow-up video to the other one I have about 5 things I absolutely love about this car, the BMW M240i. Now I'm going to flip it and do a video on 5 things I hate about this car. I've owned this car for 2 years, and there are things I love about this car, and there are things that I just do not like about this car and that are a problem. So I'm going to go over those ones in this video. If you didn't see the other video, feel free to check that one out about 5 things I love, but here are 5 things I hate about it. First thing I hate about the M240i is the seatbelt. So when you get in the car, you have to reach really far back all the way over here. You see how far my hand is going past here? It's a good an extra 2-3 inches back in order to reach the seatbelt. Now, you may not think it's really that big of a deal, but the problem is in the winter time, if you're wearing a thick coat, you can't reach it because it's so thick here, you can't wrap around. You have to literally either go like this, kind of swing your body to try to reach it, or you just have to kind of go like this, awkwardly grab it with your other hand, and it's just a pain. What I like about the new BMWs is they have the little piece here that comes out and retracts that brings you your seatbelt. So that'd be really nice to have in this car, and I really wish it had it. So just bring the seatbelt out to here, you just reach your hand, grab it, done. I really wish this car had that. It's a small little nitpick that only really is a problem during a small part of the year when you're wearing thick coats. You have to pretty much grab it before you sit down in order to be able to actually use the thing. You see what I mean? I had to reach around, you go to jerk it, and if you pull the seatbelt too hard, it does the thing where it locks, so you really have to slowly, so you can't even jerk around to grab it. So there you go, another reason why these seatbelts are just so awkward to reach, and I don't like them. Now the second thing with this car that I absolutely hate, as beautiful as this car is on the outside, the leather in this car is absolutely terrible. So this car has beautiful red interior. I believe the color of it is coral orange or something like that. The color is really beautiful. The problem is this right here, the headrest. So this started peeling on me probably a good 1.5 years ago, and even still now you can see there's a little bit of red on my fingers. So especially in the hotter months, so I mentioned a problem in the cold months with the seatbelt. So a problem in the hot months is this warms up, and if you have any kind of oil in your hair whatsoever, even if you just got out of the shower and your hair is a little damp, if that damp hair touches this at all, it will start peeling. I have a detailer and he cleaned this up as much as you can, but at the end of the day you will end up getting oil on this. Now the other problem is if you wear hats, which I don't usually wear, but sometimes I do. Most hats have a little, either a metal piece or a plastic piece or something on the back. Now the problem is, as you're driving, even if your head's not resting all the time on the headrest, you're still going to be moving it left to right to look at traffic. You're still going to be resting it every now and then, and it is going to scrape some of that color off. You can see right here, right there at the top, I kind of can't really get a good angle on it, but you can see it's kind of starting to fold a little bit here, and it's very malleable. I even got a little bit of red on my fingers. It's not the best leather. Getting it repaired is expensive, and it costs just about the same as replacing it, which is like $250 to $350 depending where you get it, how much it costs at your dealership. Occasionally you could find them floating around on eBay, but it's just, they're not very common in red. So if you have a black one, you're probably better off. It's not an exclusive problem to the red seats, but the red I found from what I saw online is the worst. The red and the white kind of cream color, those are the worst ones. Just bear that in mind with these seats, is this could be an issue that you have in the future. I've been in cars with leather seats, and these ones just are not it. They're just not the best quality. Hopefully this isn't an issue that any of you will have with your BMW. Now the next problem I have with this car is problem number 3, and this is probably one of the biggest issues with this car, and I believe the first generation of M2 also had this issue, that there is no temperature gauge in this car. When you cycle through the menus, there just isn't a temperature gauge. Now there is this that you can code into the car, so it is a temperature gauge that is in the system, but it only works in certain BMWs. That's one of the things that's really an issue with this car, because you don't know how long you have to wait before you can really whip it around. Now, one of the solutions that exists, there is a gauge, I believe it's called the P3 gauge. And basically this whole dash piece right here is replaced with a very similar one, but there's a little digital display that'll tell you the temperature of the car. And I believe there's other things that it'll tell you in there. There's another solution that I think is a lot better, and I'll make a video in the future about it, an app called BeamerLink. So BeamerLink is really fantastic because there's really two apps. So you have BeamerLink and BeamerCode. So BeamerCode lets you do things like code in that temperature gauge that doesn't work in the car, amongst other really cool things that do work. And BeamerLink gives you a whole list of different things in your car from all the sensors. So the way I have mine set up is I have a couple different gauges, one for boost pressure, another gauge I have for oil temperature, I have another gauge for coolant temperature, another gauge for air intake temperature, and transmission temperature. So none of those come stock in the car, but if you have an app like that, I literally just have my phone right here, and as I drive, it gives you real-time data about your temperature, all that stuff. So, but honestly though, for a car like this that is so performance focused, it's really not acceptable to not have a temperature gauge in this car. The next thing to point out about this car are the wipers. So the wipers and the spray nozzles for this car, and just BMWs in general. So I absolutely hate these. I think these are the worst garbage I've ever used. I have a Impreza that's like 10 years old and it has fantastic wipers compared to this. Obviously you replace your wipers, but compared to this, these are just garbage. Now the reason being is these will streak, right? So that one doesn't really have an issue, but this one, I've replaced it twice. I've brought it to BMW. They checked the whole thing. There's nothing wrong with it. They literally just said, it just kind of is what it is, you know? So when this goes up, it leaves a little streak right here. Now obviously there's no rain, there's sunlight, so I can't really show that at the moment. I'll spray my nozzle and see if I can get the streak to show. But it is really bad, especially if it's raining hard. If you know anything about the BMW spray nozzles, you're not supposed to use Rain-X product in there. So when you use Rain-X in these nozzles, there's a good chance, and it may not happen to you, you could have good luck, but there is a high chance that the nozzles will clog. And if those nozzles clog, I'm pretty sure you just have to replace them, and there's really not much else you could do for them. Unless you're applying Rain-X to the windshield manually, every time it rains, it just, there's just water everywhere. It does not beat up. It's just not a good time. Now, maybe I'm doing something wrong with my car. I don't know. The BMW stuff does not have Rain-X in it, and you can't use actual Rain-X with this car. You're not supposed to. It causes problems. The wipers and just the whole wiper system is just absolutely, I don't know, it's just not the best. Let's see if I can get the streak to show. Yeah, so you can kind of see it right about here, right where that little center piece is, where the pressure is mostly applied. It leaves a streak right here. One of the things I hate about this car, and it's something that I think a lot of people that own an M240i or an M235i can pretty much say, is it's very quiet inside the cabin. Now I touched on this in things that I like about the car. So when you want to drive this car quietly, you absolutely can, and it's a fantastic drive. It's a luxury car. You know, you have your music on, you don't hear anything from the outside world, you just don't. And that's kind of the problem as well on the flip side, because when you want to, you know, drive this car around hard and listen to that exhaust, listen to that engine, it's kind of hard to when this car is stock. This car has a Remus exhaust system, so the exhaust is a little bit louder. So my problem is kind of solved in this car. But if you have a stock exhaust, it's a real problem, because when your windows are up and you're really trying to rip it, you don't really hear it. And what BMW does is they pump the fake engine sound into the car, which I've turned off in here, so it's something that you can code out, and I had it coded out basically when my exhaust was installed, so everything I hear is the actual exhaust. So, you know, I get why they do it, especially in this car, because it's so insulated in here. So I understand that they have to do it, but at the same time, it sucks because it's not the actual engine you're hearing, it's just fake sounds. Now, if you're driving with the windows down, it's not really an issue. And that's the thing. If a lot of the time you drive with your windows up, you really lose out on a lot of this car. The sound is a huge part to play in this car. It's kind of a shame if you're driving with the windows up that you're really not gonna get all that sound. If you're buying this car, you really need to buy some kind of exhaust system with this car. You really have to, because you're missing out on a lot of the car. And especially here, like I live in New England, so it's cold a lot of the year. So winter, you're not driving with the windows down. You know, in the fall, occasionally you'll drive with the windows down. Spring, it's, you know, that transitional period. But really, a lot of the year, you're going to be driving around with your windows up, and you're not going to get all of the sound that you really should inside the car. And it's probably one of the biggest things I hate about this car, even though it's also one of the things I absolutely love about this car. It's two sides of the same coin for me, because it's a problem that I fixed in this car by getting an exhaust. That was 5 things that I hate about this car, the M240i. For the most part, fantastic car. Absolutely love this thing, everything about it. But there are these small little things that I just don't like about this car. BMW is a BMW. It has to be a BMW. You know, you have to have the quality. It has to be a good car. And it is, but you still got to point out these little issues. So if you like the video, please like and subscribe. Leave a comment with any feedback. I will be making more videos in the future about this car, so stay tuned.